Well, welcome to the Virtual Museum in BibleInteract.com. For the next 4 minutes, we're going to talk about the Late Bronze Age period, which is the time period of Moses and the Exodus, the conquest under Joshua. So Moses and Joshua. It was during that time period that Moses leads them out of Egypt. And then 40 years in the wilderness. After the 40 years in the wilderness, Joshua leads them into what we call the Promised Land. It's in the Promised Land that, unfortunately, they have to fight off the Canaanites. Something about archaeology and biblical history is that we look for clues in the biblical narrative, in the scriptures, with what archaeologists actually find in the fields. Just as pottery is significant to the time periods, weaponry is the same. So we can look at the different types of weaponry, and they are unique to a time period in history. And we're going to look at this Late Bronze Age period. And scholars suggest that these are the types of weapons that were used during the Late Bronze Age, time period of Moses and the Exodus and the conquest, between 1550 and 1200 BC. First, a Egyptian axe blade. So these are going to be axe blades. Notice it looks like a letter E. Now, no self-respecting archaeologist is going to say Egyptian axe blade because it looks like an E. It's called an epsilon axe. And the Egyptians were south of the land of Canaan. And the Egyptians gained power and authority by controlling the trade route by force, by using the epsilon axe. Another group of people up north were trying to control the trade route, and they were called the Hittites. And the Hittites used this particular axe blade. Looks mean, wouldn't want to get smacked by this baby, so it's called the Hittite axe blade. So Hittite up in the north, trying to control the trade route. Down in the south, E, epsilon for Egypt. But the people in the middle, the Canaanites, they had to put up with the Egyptians and the Hittites. And every time the Egyptians would come by, they would take everything that wasn't nailed down. Isn't that interesting? That means if you were out in the field, you come back home, and your wife and kids might be missing. And who passed by? More than likely the Egyptians. Which proves to me this: you don't have to be in Egypt to be a slave to the Pharaoh. Isn't that very true? Now, so we got the Egyptian-style axe blade, we got a Hittite-style axe blade, and what do the Canaanites have? This is theirs. Can you imagine? It explains why they didn't win too many battles. Matter of fact, I had a Canaanite in here last week, and he said those were some tough times. But it was in this period in history, and in that region which we say Canaanite or Israel, where we read how Joshua starts to conquer the land, and he's met by a group of people called the Gibeonites, and the Gibeonites actually made a peace treaty. Why? Because I think in Canaan, they were going through a lot of troubles. And the trouble is that the Egyptians were just as dominating in that territory with a long arm as they were in Egypt. Just a suggestion. But the weapons are true. Egyptian, Hittite, and Canaanite. What do you think?